business and grow. When you talk to these young entrepreneurs, these young professionals, a lot of times they have really great ideas, but really no one to pitch them to. So I think the mayor can really help by bringing people with wealth, in whether it be venture capitalists or other investors, and convene them together with these young entrepreneurs to promote ideas. You know, not every company is going to spin off and be a great employer in Boston, but maybe some will. And so we need to support them in that effort. And that's what I intend to do, try to attract more jobs. I also want to help our people that aren't right now participating in this knowledge economy of Boston. You know, back to education for a moment, if that's okay, I want to address the curriculum issues. You know, there needs to be more emphasis, in my opinion, I should say, on science, technology, engineering, and math. These are the jobs, again, of the 21st century economy. And even if you don't go on to college, and I hope most of our kids do, because most of the jobs will require a bachelor's degree, but you can get a really really good-paying blue-collar job if you have some of these skills. So I'm going to emphasize that in the Boston curriculum, but also for the individuals that are out of the workforce right now, or are not employed at a place where they would like to be and, you know, could really provide for their families, figure out a way to train them for the jobs that are available in this economy. And you talk to employers, they say the jobs are there, but the skilled employees aren't there to fill them. So this is where I would reach out to our universities and say to our universities, help us identify the open positions in Boston's economy and help us create job training programs for people who are not participating in that economy. They're out of high school, maybe even out of college, but figure out a way to help us train them so more of our citizens will get opportunities to participate in this knowledge economy.
I have to go back to public safety with one other question that slipped to my mind. Since the marathon, we've had approximately 95 shootings in the city of Boston, predominantly in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. As mayor, how would you address that in the whole gun situation and gun control issue?
Well, you know, this has been a real problem in the inner city of Boston and the inner city of every major metropolis in the country for a long time, and it's a problem that needs to stop. I mean, I've been a strong advocate of more rigorous gun control. I have a bill pending in the legislature to do just that. You know, we really have a problem with illegal firearms in our city. You know, part of it is education too. I think that, you know, when someone shoots someone else, there really is a lack of empathy. There's a callousness. There's, you know, a lack of humanity there that, you know, you don't see in most of our citizens. So that's where really I talk about why I believe we can really shift the paradigm, if you will, by focusing on early education and teaching kids the social emotional controls that are necessary when they get into a position, you know, they're adolescents, they're young adults, that they're not resorting to firearms. On an enforcement level, you know, I created a gun court in 2004. It's highly successful. We swiftly prosecute individuals who are carrying illegal firearms in our city. We sentence them to stiff penalties. You get them. You know that. It takes them off the street for a short period of time, typically 18 months. That's the enforcement side of what we do. But at the same time, we spend a lot of time in the schools trying to encourage kids with our anti-violence curriculum, for example, not to pick up a gun, not to join a gang, not to deal drugs. So this will be a priority for me.
Housing. How would you create more affordable housing for folks, low-income folks and others that would love to live in the city of Boston but have been priced out?
Yeah, well, most of the cranes you see building in the downtown landscape or skyline, they're building high-end condominiums or rental units that most of us can't afford. Even professionals like ourselves couldn't even dream of paying the rents or buying one of those condominiums. Apparently we do that well, because there's a lot of that going on. And we actually, I think, do subsidize housing reasonably well. It's that workforce middle-class housing that we really have an issue with. Mayor Menino has set a benchmark of 30,000 units by the year 2020. It's right around the corner. I embrace that. I'm going to try to meet that, maybe even accelerate that. Governor Patrick has sound the call for more housing in Massachusetts. I think our contiguous neighbors also need to help as much as I would like, as many people as we could to live in our city who want to. We need help from our surrounding communities. But I would like to see housing pushed out again, away from the center city where it's too costly to build and unaffordable for people. It needs to be built in Hyde Park, in Dorchester, in Mattapan, and Roxbury, and other places, East Boston, South Boston, around the city where people have access to transportation. Transit-oriented housing is an important goal. And that requires, some flexibility, maybe with building materials, for example. Downtown, it's mostly steel construction. I'm not an expert at this, but I've been told by some developers that if we went to wood frame construction, for example, it would really reduce the costs. We need to look at things like the requirements of 1 or 2 parking spaces per unit, because that adds tremendous cost. Especially if you're able to build these moderate workforce housing units around transportation, maybe we can think about relaxing that.
Talk to me about the BRA, the Boston Redevelopment Authority. Who would you put in there? What type of individual would you want to see? What skill sets would you want in there? And what is your overall thought about how they comport themselves and do their business?
Another huge, I think, appointment by the next mayor of Boston will be who's going to be the BRA executive director. Peter Mead has said he's leaving when Mayor Menino's term expires. So again, we're looking widely, casting a very wide net around the United States, looking for a dynamic leader who's a visionary. This is someone I want to invest a lot of faith in. Needs to be a person, once again, of character and integrity. The BRA in some quarters and in some neighborhoods is looked upon very suspiciously. People very mistrustful of the BRA, and that needs to change. I lead a large organization that's complex. I could tell you, and you do too, it's about transparency and it's about predictability. If we explain decisions carefully to our constituency, and they might not agree with them, they accept them in most instances. So I hear from people who say the BRA calls us to the table, listens, nods, and then does exactly what they want. I think that needs to change, and it needs to change in a way that's very transparent and open. So, for example, when I make a tough decision, you go onto my district attorney's website, you'll find numerous letters explaining in excruciating detail my decision on a particular case and why I made it. You might disagree with it, but it's all out there for you to see. Something like that kind of transparency. Secondly, it needs to be a predictable process. You talk to developers, and they will say, we were given 18 items, action items. We did all the 18 items. We went into the BRA, and they looked at it, and they nodded, and they said, do these 6 more. And we did those 6 more, and they came, do these 3 more. And by the way, change these 4 that you did up here. So developers, get very, very mixed signals from the BRA. That has to stop too. It needs to be predictable, and it also needs to be more timely. Shouldn't go like that, because these buildings are going up in many cases and will be there for 100 years, long after we're gone. So the process ought to be thoughtful and deliberative, but it needs to be timely and predictable. For me, I'd leave both planning and development in the Boston Redevelopment Authority. It's a slow and tedious process. As I said, now it'll get slower and more tedious if it's separated. That doesn't mean planning isn't important. It's very important. Every neighborhood should have a master plan, and I'm committed to that. Shouldn't sit on a shelf gathering dust. It should be updated regularly and followed.
We have about 90 seconds left. I'd like you to address the folks at home and tell them why they should give you their vote to become the next mayor of the city of Boston.
Sure. Well, I'd really like your vote on Election Day, September 24th. I believe I'm a proven executive-level leader here in our city. I lead a large, complex public organization, and I've lived within a budget. It's my job to motivate and train and retain a whole group of young professionals and unify them in a common set of goals and meet those goals each and every day, and we do that with great integrity in the district attorney's office. I also believe that I have some really great ideas with respect to education, with respect to housing, and with respect to economic development. Boston is a great city. Its best days are ahead, but we need a proven leader to take us to that very next level, and I think I have the ability to do that. So I hope that You'll spend some time looking at my campaign very closely. You'll go onto my website, danconleyformayor.com. You'll see all of my positions spelled out there very clearly, and I hope that you'll give me your vote on September 24th. Thank you.
Sir, I really want to thank you for coming on. Like I say, I know you've got a crazy schedule. You're all over the place. So to take some time out to sit with us and talk to myself and talk to our viewers about the issues of importance to us as individuals and the city as a whole is just very timely. And we wish you Godspeed in all of your endeavors going forward and in this race.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Happy to be on, Sheriff. Thank you very much.
All right, folks, look, we're out of time. We're out of here. We'll be back again next week. So until then, you take care of yourself. And thanks for tuning in. Peace.